This is a WUFI Passive tutorial on creating a slab assembly. In WUFI Passive, we build out each of our assemblies. You can do that by either building them in the project level or in the database level. I'm going to show you how to add this in the database level, which can then be pulled into the project. On the top here at database, I'm going to go to assemblies. I'm going to click on my catalog and then click new here. There's a separate tutorial on creating your own user-defined catalogs and databases. Okay, so when I open this assembly, I see a couple of things. I have a name, I have a catalog tab. The first thing I'm going to do is put this assembly into my LW or my catalog. And then I'm going to give this assembly a specific name. So we're creating a slab here. Let's take a look at the slab. Okay, so this is for the sample project. Here is our slab assembly. So it looks like it's a thickened edge here. What we want to do is we want to create the typical slab. So we don't want to create anything that just occurs at an instance or at a corner or at the perimeter. We want the typical slab. So what we're actually looking at is kind of what are the layers at this moment here where the cut was taken. So it looks like we have 6 inches of poured concrete. We have 8 inches of compact stone here, or gravel. And then we have 1 foot or 12 inches of EPS insulation. So we're going to be building this assembly. So I'm going to call it a pretty specific name so I know what all the layers are without having to jump into the assembly. So I'm going to call it 12 inches of EPS, 8 inches of gravel, 6 inches of concrete. Okay, so that's the name. I do this again so you can copy assemblies, and I could change the EPS thickness to 6 inches, change the name, and now I have multiple variations really quickly. Okay, so there's a different tutorial on how to duplicate assemblies. So I'm going to click New here. And this is adding the first layer in my assembly. So I'm going from outside to inside in WUFI Passive. So my first layer here from the outside is actually the EPS. So when I click to New, it opens my material database. I'm going to search in the top right for EPS. And I'm going to pick the density, the 30 kilogram per meter cube density, EPS. I click Apply. The thickness I'm going to give it is 12 inches. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is add my gravel. Or let's see if we can do stone here. I think we'll stick with gravel, but you'd like to find maybe a material that's similar to what you're using in your project. Truthfully, this layer is only giving us R1.6. It's not a particularly insulative layer, so as long as you have something that's close or somewhat mimics the material, that would be fine. We probably could have also just assumed this entire layer here is concrete. That would have also been fine. Would have given us very similar results than splitting out the 8 inches of stone versus the 6 inches of concrete. Okay, so I added 8 inches of gravel. I'm going to click New one more time and search for concrete. Pick concrete here, and I have 6 inches of concrete. So now on the right hand side you can see my layers built out. I have the EPS 12 inches, generic gravel 8 inches, and 6 inches of concrete. This particular condition does have a turned down slab. So it's slightly different in the corner, but again, concrete and gravel are not that different in terms of conductivities, so it's not a huge deal. In other cases, let's say if this was a thermal bridge, you wouldn't model in that there was a bridge here in the actual assembly. You would do a separate therm model of that unique perimeter condition and account for that with a psi value. So in general, when creating this assembly, you're always kind of creating the typical condition. Okay. So that is it for the slab. You'll see at the top now kind of the R values you get. On the left you get the effective R value with framing, and on the right you get the R value without framing. Of course, in this assembly there's no additional framing, so we have the same result in both calculation methods. and now our wall or our slab has shown up in our list.